friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today I have got a very fun project for me, at least. I am going to do some fantastic fall cleanup of the cottage garden behind me. This space I love and adore during the spring, summer, early fall, even winter. But that time between like fall and winter before it gets cleaned up, oh my word, it drives me crazy. We are currently in the crazy stage because I have got annuals that have been fried by a freeze. We've already had 2 nights of freezing temperatures, so they are toasty and looking quite lovely. So we are going to pull all those out. We're going to prune back some perennials. We're going to weed. We're going to do all sorts of things. So let me show you the hot mess express that is currently my cottage garden. This space, if you will remember, encompasses really 2 flower beds. So right here on either side of the step, that is the cottage garden. It is filled with either annuals or perennials in there. We're going to take care of that today. Behind the cottage garden, we have 5 garden boxes that for the most part are pretty empty, but you can see I still have some tomato plants and some jalapeno plants. Hopefully we'll get those ripped out. My basil, can you tell? Poor basil. It's not so amazing right now because clearly it got zapped. So we're going to pull that out. The rest of my herbs in there are all perennials. So we'll just tidy something up if it needs to be tidied up. I don't know that we're going to get it done today, but at some point very soon, I want to get my unique stone urns. There are 4 of them through here between the cottage, between the garden boxes. I want to get those filled with some beautiful sweet yellow violas. Had those in there last year, and man, they were just like the little sunshiniest, happiest little plants with their little faces shining up towards the sun. They were very, very happy. So I want to get some of those in there. But the cottage garden down here is just, it is just a mess. Can you see that poor coleus, or what was a coleus? I mean, if you ever doubted that we got a freeze, well, the coleus is telling the tale for sure right there. The other beautiful beast, the elephant in the room, is this massive lantana. This is Miss Huff. Miss Huff is one of the very, very few lantanas that will reliably be a perennial for us here in North Carolina, Zone 7B. Last year was my first year that I cut her back this time of year. She did great. Clearly, she did not suffer at all. There's still flowers on there. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do to Miss Huff right now. I may go in there and just trim her up so that the other perennials are getting some sun. I may go ahead and cut her all the way back. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's going to be a game time decision on that. But all the other stuff is going to get really cleaned up. So what we're going to do is just kind of set everything up and go ahead and get started. What else I want to do is to, in my garden boxes this time of year, I always top them off with a great compost and then leaf litter. And Brenna is having some fun right here because these 5 black tubs, these are 15-gallon nursery pots. Jackson and my mom went ahead end of last week, and they're the leaf mulch people, and so they go use Mama's old ratty lawnmower, and they get all the leaves and then they chop them up, suck them up, chop them up, and we get this beautiful leaf litter. I like to top off my 5 garden boxes with this because it just really helps with the nutrition. It helps retain moisture, even though I don't have a lot of, I will have my garlic growing this winter in there, but it just adds to the overall health of the garden boxes. And then also it is an amazing way to suppress weeds. Fantastic way to suppress weeds. So hopefully we can get that down in there too. But the main goal is just to get this whole area really tidied up. And so I'm gonna walk you through and show you what we're gonna do. Alrighty, my friends, so what we're going to do first is we are going to work on this side of the cottage garden because it is smaller. It does not contain Miss Huff, so I do not have to think or worry about what I'm going to do with that lantana right now. I can just focus on what's going on in here, because in my brain that is easiest. All of the annuals, we're going to start with that, are going to come out. So the annuals that have been completely fried, partially fried, just there is no future for them whatsoever. They are all going to get ripped out. The one that I am going to leave is this great salvia. This is from Proven Winners. This is the Rockin' Salvia, the blue suede shoes. Love this plant. It is a beautiful blue. I've got a honeybee right here. It has withstood the 2 freezing nights and the cold temperatures that we've had. It actually has the best flowers on it out of opposed to everybody, so it will stay in. This is going to be an experiment for me, because I have done this with other Rockin' Salvias before, where honestly it was just, I first figured it out because I was just being lazy and I didn't want to have to rip it out, so I just cut it to the ground and it kept coming back for a couple of years until I did pull it out. So I am going to leave it for now because it has pretty flowers. Once the freeze actually does get it, or it just looks terrible, then I will cut it to the ground. Everything else though is going to come out. My plum dandy, love this. It is a beautiful foliage plant. It's coming out. The Gumfrina's coming out. My poor Vermillionaire, Cleome, I've got sweet potato vine, all of that, coleus, all of that is going to come out. Now, some people will say, well, Jenny, what if have you tried leaving things? Have you tried leaving the Vermillionaire? Have you tried leaving this or that? For me, in this garden, I want it cleaned out, because each year I like to try something a little different with my annuals in here. If you want to experiment in your garden and leave your Vermillionaire or leave your Lantana or your Cleome or whatever it may be, go for it, because some of the best ways to learn is just to experiment. So if you want to do it in your garden, absolutely go for it. Here, the only thing I'm going to leave is the salvia. Everything else is going to come out. Once the annuals are out, then we will come back and we'll talk about how I'm going to deal with perennials, because some of them need to be cut back, some of them leave them completely alone, and then some of them yeah, so they're either going to get cut back or left alone, basically. So I'll tell you and explain to you my thought process on how I treat my perennials. But for now, get the gloves on, get ripping out, because I'm so excited. I see this bed every time I pull up. It's right outside our kitchen window. I see it all the time. I'm tired of looking at sticks, so Jenny is ready to get her hands in here and start ripping some plants out. All right, so all of the annuals have been pulled out of the bed. You can see Johnny has got a full bed full of debris, so we can go dump that in a little bit. Now, what are we gonna do with the perennials? Let me flip you around and show you what we're gonna do. First things first, daylilies. The nice big green mounds here that you see, those are all daylilies. I will leave them completely alone. They are fine. Once we get a hard freeze and they get the hard freeze, we've already had a hard freeze, but once they get zapped, their foliage will just die back and I can come in and get it really easy out. I do have some ultraviolet phlox right here, a fantastic, gorgeous perennial, but it is plagued with some powdery mildew. Powdery mildew just is a sign that the plant was under distress for some reason. Maybe it wasn't getting enough water, maybe it was not getting enough air circulation. You can see how close the salvia is to it. So I am going to go ahead and cut this back, and when I cut it back, I will come all the way down to the ground and I will cut it all the way flat to the ground. As soon as we do get the cold temperatures on it, it will die back anyway. So we will go ahead and take care of that and get rid of the phlox. I have some canna lilies that didn't know were going to come back, but they did come back. So we'll cut those down to the ground. I am going to go ahead with this rockin' salvia. You can see how it's kind of splayed open because of wind and that has come in. So I'm going to just come along right here and clean this up. That way it's not hanging over the edge and we can walk by safely without disturbing all the bees and all the little critters. So we will do that. My Baptisia that is here, it looks dead, it's not dead, but we will go ahead and cut it to the ground as well. You can see how much these loropetalums are encroaching and overshadowing this whole entire area. We are already talked about it. We are going to go ahead, coming out of winter, going into spring, and really come in here and have to cut these back. These are probably, like, look at this one. It's, gosh, I don't know, 20 feet tall. I mean, just massive. And they desperately need to be cut back. The best time to do it is after winter, going into spring, is after they bloom. So we will trim those back. I know you're going to ask, the beautiful trees behind them, those are 3 of the Thuya Green Giants. So they are gorgeous, fantastic, love them. But the loropetalum, yeah, they're getting a little too friendly with this perennial bed. So we're gonna trim those back later on in the winter. You will also see down here at the bottom, my Amsonia. It looks rather stickish as well right here. Go ahead and cut that one to the ground. And you may remember when I was here in the summer, I had to trim back the guara. I mean, I cut it all the way back to the ground, and look at it. It is blooming and doing quite well. So that is what we're going to do here. Just get everybody kind of cleaned up, tidied up. If you want to move your perennials, let's see if I can get, the sun's a little bit of a booger-boo today. If you want to move your perennials, now would be the absolute perfect time to go ahead and do that. Going into fall, we're in fall, cooler temperatures. If you want to move a perennial, now would be a wonderful time to do it, especially if you're down here in the south like we are, where our ground never really freezes. You can garden for a long time, and you can get in there and move some stuff around. So I'm just going to go clean up what we talked about, and then we'll check back together in a minute. Friends, so we've got the first side of the cottage garden is all done. Now this is not, I think I've said it before, but I'm gonna say it again. This is not the final prep for this flower bed. We probably will put this bed completely to bed for the winter, probably in sometime in like December, because by then all my daylilies will have died back. I can remove all that foliage. My guara I can cut back. The salvia I'll be able to cut back. All those perennials I'll be able to trim up. At that time, we will come back through here and apply a nice layer of a compost blend that we have. And so we have it in bulk here at the nursery. It's a special blend that we actually requested from our soil farm, I guess is the best way to describe it. So it's a great blend of compost and the aged pine bark fines. So we will top dress this flower bed with that blend come that time. But for now, it is done. It looks a lot neater and tidier, cleaned up. It's not so chaotic in my brain looking. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna move over and we're gonna do the other side, but not to the extensive full effect that I wanted to, because I don't know if y'all are like me, but my brain tells me that I can do a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time, and then reality hits and I'm like, no, I can't get all that kind of stuff done. So today we're not going to do the garden boxes. Heaven knows we're not going to get the violas planted. That'll be a whole nother time. We're just going to move over here to the right side of me, and we're going to get all of the annuals out. And I was talking with Jerry. I think we're going to leave Miss Huff for now. I may tidy her up a little bit, but it is such a beast, and it is getting late in the day. And honestly, yeah, the clock is ticking and I'm starting to get tired. And today is Thursday, so it is our date night. We always have a date night on Thursday. It's an at-home date night, but we still like to have some time just together for us. So I don't want to get myself flat worn out for that. So we're gonna get over, make sure all the annuals are out, just get the stuff that's just absolutely driving me crazy. We're gonna get it out, and then we're gonna wrap it up for the day. All right, my friends, so look at that. Isn't that much tidier? Now, is it done? Is it finished? No. Do we have more to do? Yes. Am I gonna do it today? No. So it looks so much better though. Jerry came in and helped me there at the end. What we did is, of course, you can see, is I did prune up the Amsonia on the end, just cut it all the way back, cleaned up the Nephophia, which is the red hot poker, which in this case is a yellow hot poker. Just kind of deadheaded those a little bit, and then came in with the lantana and trimmed up the bottom. It's massive, and I think we're gonna have to move her because she's taking up the whole entire bed. And I've got daisies, like look at that poor little Shasta daisy. I mean, it's just pitiful. There's another daylily under there. She's just swallowing up this entire bed. And that's just not quite the look we're going for. So I think we're gonna try to move her later. Whenever later is. And then this bed, nice and neat, so much tidier, so much neater. I will be honest, the salvia does kind of drive me crazy. I wish I could go ahead and cut it down, but I'm doing it for all you folks that are like, Jenny, what about the bees? Well, the bees are very happy. So the bees won this time, and I left it. When the hard freeze comes and really zaps it back, then I'll just cut it to the ground and see if it comes back next year. We'll do a little experiment, but the guara is doing quite nicely over here. That's the thing about guara. It is a perennial for us, and if you just kind of keep it trimmed back, it'll reflush. So that's nice. There is a little bit of pocket of color there. So what we have left to do on another day will be, we're going to tackle the garden boxes. There's a couple of weeds in there. Just going to clean it up a little bit, get that nice compost down, laid down, and then we'll top dress it with all of the great leaf litter, and then the unique stone urns will get planted with violas. There's some weeding and things I need to do up there, you know, just general maintenance piddling, as I say in the garden. If you're not familiar with piddling, or maybe you have a different definition of piddling, that just means to not have a major job on hand. You're just doing a little bit of here, a little bit of there, moving from one place to another. So that is what I mean by piddling in the garden. So this will be a fun time to do that. But yeah, so for today, very happy with how it turned out. It at least is neater and tidier. And so when I look at it, when I come up, it won't kind of grate on my ever-loving last nerve. But it is afternoon time. If you know us, it is afternoon coffee time. And then, like I said, it's date night tonight. So we're going to have a great night. Hope you do too. As always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends. Everything is going to get pulled out as far as those annuals, with the exception of the beautiful Rockin' Salvia from Proven Winners. This is Rockin' Playing the Blues. Playing the Blues. Blue suede shoes. Blue suede shoes. Blue suede shoes. See, there's Rockin' Playing the Blues and then blue suede shoes. I'll put the right name up there for you. At this point in the day, it's I don't know. We're just gonna start all that over again. Never mind, forget that. We're not using that. Is it blue suede shoes?